This is the first lecture for Popular Culture 1700 Black Popular Culture, a course introduction and overview. The catalog description for Bowling Green State University describes this class as covering the basic theories of approaches to 20th century African American popular culture, and it traces the ways Black popular culture has shaped and is shaped by American society. This class satisfies the BG Perspective Cultural Diversity in the United States General Education requirement and also is a distance learning class. In your book, you'll see that Black popular culture is defined as an arena of daily life in any culture that actualizes, engenders, operationalizes, or signifies pleasure, enjoyment, and amusement according to the beliefs, norms, and values of people of African descent in particular, but also other racial groups in general, and that is expressed in visible, tangible, and performative artifacts and practices. So that's the definition you have in your reading, but what I have added to that definition is here in this next slide, where I'm defining it, adding a little bit more information to this, as an arena of daily life in any historical or emergent culture that believes in pleasures and values good, that is based on the beliefs, values, orality, musicality, and norms of people of Africana descent, especially soul and style, that is contextualized by groups, organizations, and institutions, and that is expressed in visible, audible, and performative artifacts and practices. This definition I want us to keep in mind because in looking at Black popular culture, there are three parts to how we will study this. And one thing I want you to understand about Black popular culture is, or at least what we're doing in this particular course, is that we're looking at more so the history of African Americans in the United States of America. And so the daily life of Black people, Africana people in this unique context of the United States of America. I have historical or emergent culture because there are things that African Americans have done in the United States that we could say happened 20 years ago, 100 years ago, but emergent culture because there are newer things that are also occurring from African American culture. The next part of this definition that talks about pleasure and good is the foundational definition of popular culture, the way that I'm using it in this course, that if it's popular culture, if there's pleasure, it's popular culture if a person deems that that particular pleasure is good. Also, I'm defining Black popular culture as being based on the beliefs, the values, the orality, musicality, and norms of people of Africana descent. So looking at beliefs and values, we will, during the course of this course, we will look at the beliefs and values as being foundational to what African Americans produce and express, and then also orality and musicality as being foundational to Black culture in general. The aspect of speaking, singing, the aspect of putting music to movement, music to speaking, music to singing, playing music, that these are very important to people of Africana descent. And then also in terms of the norms, what do people, African Americans in the United States of America, what do they do? What do they see as being normal? And then to add a little bit more expansion to this definition in terms of beliefs and values, I see soul and style being two very important concepts in African American culture, but then also Africana, Black popular culture. And then the other part of this, African Americans can believe and value certain things and they can do it a certain way, but there are certain groups and organizations and institutions that impact what African Americans are able to do, and that includes African Americans themselves. And then finally, all of this is expressed in artifacts and practices. And so these are the things that are visible, that are audible, you can see them, you can hear them, and they are performed or they are happening. And then a simpler definition of Black popular culture is that it consists of artifacts and practices created by people of Africana descent and based on their beliefs, values, and norms. That Black popular culture is related to popular culture in general because it concerns pleasure and good, which is the core belief value orientation or the core social mindset of all popular cultural productions. In Popular Culture 1700, I have this course divided up into three major parts: context, textures, and text. With the context, we'll be looking at production, dissemination, circulation, and the exhibition of Black popular culture, and then also the controls and regulations on Black popular culture. Under the textures portion of this class, we will look at social mindsets, which are basically social beliefs and values, and artistic mindsets, which are artistic or aesthetic beliefs and values. And then the final part of this course is looking at the text of Black popular culture, the actual things that we see. And I divide these into icons, personas, arts, and rituals. The two handouts that will be very important in this class will include the House of Black popular culture, or the House of African American popular culture. In this, it is a house, and so the way this house is built, in the foundation of the house, we have beliefs and values. And I use several names when I'm talking about beliefs and values. Sometimes I talk about myths, mythologies, belief, value, orientation, mindset, and those are some of the terms to begin to understand. So in the basement of the house, we have the beliefs and values that relate to social movings of people, and then also performative artistically. And so these are in the basement. This is the foundation of the house. It's not seen, but it's very important to the establishment of a life. So if we talk about a life, a person's life, a family, a culture, we have these beliefs and values that are invisible and inaudible for the most part, but they form really the heart of who a person is, or a culture is, a nation is, a society is. Then looking at the first floor of the house, we have icons and personas. This part of the house is visible, is audible, is performative. This is where the goings-on are. So the icons are the popular things in Black popular culture, and the personas are the popular people. Then on the second floor of the house, we have the arts and the rituals. The arts and the rituals are the practices of Black popular culture. The icons and personas are the artifacts. So on the second floor, this is the happening part of the house. The arts are happening. The arts depend on icons. They depend on personas. And the rituals room of the house is the greatest part of the house in terms of combining everything. When you have a ritual, it almost always consists of some art form, maybe one or two. It consists of icons, significant popular objects, and significant popular people. And then on the attic part, surrounding the roof of the house and the attic of the house, we have the context of Black popular culture. These are the factors, the institutions, the organizations, the ideologies that affect the stuff of Black popular culture and that affect the beliefs and values. So in the roof, or around the roof of the house, the attic of the house, we have this context of individuals and audiences, production, dissemination, circulation, exhibition, and then also controls and regulations. So we will break down more of these as we continue on with the class. The other important document that will be useful to take a look at periodically throughout the course is this table that I'm calling the African American Popular Culture Studies Landscape. So in this, I have taken almost every significant concept that will be used in this class, and it is on this one sheet of paper. So the font is small, but it has everything. So on the left side of this table, I have the context, textures, and text. So you see this is the broad method that we'll be using to examine Black popular culture. And then the second column I'm calling complex concepts, which looks at, for context, individuals and audiences, production, dissemination, controls and regulations, and the context was on the roof, attic, around the house, the outside of the house, not in the house, but outside of the house, because it affects the house. And if these things are not in place, it could affect, or if it is in place, depending on how it's in place, it can affect Black popular culture production. Then in the next row, for textures, we have social and artistic mindsets. So that's the next set of complex concepts related to that. And then for text, the concepts related to text would be icons, personas, arts, and rituals. Then in the final column, which has all of the concepts, the mid-level concepts, and even some lower-level concepts. So the mid-level concepts will be not in any type of bracket at all, but in parentheses, concepts that are on another level to kind of break down the mid-level concepts are in parentheses. So here, for the context, for each section, context, individuals, and audiences, we have another set of concepts there. So this covers all, this sheet, this table covers all of the most significant concepts related to understanding Black popular culture. Now, moving away from the figures and tables, in this course module, well, the way that the class is set up, I have course module outline that breaks down into production, dissemination, circulation, controls and regulations. So these are the major topics that you're covering: social mindsets, artistic mindsets, icons, personas, arts, and we'll be focusing on music, comic art, television, and then rituals. Now, in this course, all of this information is contained within a course module folder. Within each folder, there is a mapping of what's included in the folder. So that folder includes the learning outcomes for that topic. It includes the methods that will be used and the materials and activities that you will use to become immersed within the information, and then module assessments, how I will be assessing or evaluating how well you are doing on these topics. So for each course material and activity, every course module, it is required that you do some readings and or go to a website or view a video or listen to music or listen to a speaker. So for every course module, for every topic that is covered, that is the first grouping of things that are required for each student to do, is to read these different types of things that I assign for each topic. And then the next thing that I also provide is what I'm calling self-assessment worksheets. These are optional. In these worksheets, for every topic, there is anywhere from 1 to 5 worksheets that you can complete after you've done your reading, that you can use to test yourself on how well you have read what you read, do you understand the concepts. And so these worksheets are there solely for you to see how well you're doing. They do not come to me. In some cases, I will have an activity where you are viewing a video, like some of the videos that we have stored here in the digital video system here at Bowling Green State University. There are some worksheets that I want you to use to look at as you are viewing those documentaries. So that will be useful. And then the final thing each student must do in this course is to participate in discussion board activities. So I have specialized topics related to a course module topic, and in that topic, I'm asking you to either go to a website or to listen to music or watch a film, and then based on whatever the concepts we've been covering, I ask you to then show what you know from that viewing. Going to the website, watching a TV sitcom, there are specific questions I ask, you post your comment, and then you will be asked to reply to 1 or 2 people in the course. The requirements for this course, generally there are 3 major requirements for this course. Discussion and participation is a significant part, then also a midterm exam which has 2 parts, and a final exam which has 2 parts. In some courses you may write a paper instead of having a final exam essay, you'll have a paper that's a little bit longer than the essay. So in general, the discussion participation is 40% of your final grade, the midterm exam 30%, and the final exam 30%. And the way that the midterm is broken down, the first part, and really for both, the midterm exam and the final exam, part 1 is an objective portion. There are true-false questions, multiple choice questions. You answer those questions online in our Blackboard course shell, and so they're all answered there. You'll have a set time to do the test for that. It will be graded automatically, and that will go into part of the midterm. So this covers everything you've done in a certain set of modules. And then the part 2 of the midterm and the final, you'll have the same set of modules that you'll be tested on, but you'll have